Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another review. This time of the SH Figuarts Endgame Iron Man Mark 50 Nano Set Weapon 2. I know that's a mouthful, but yeah. Anyway, let's jump straight into this. If you were disappointed by the Nano Set 1, or you were disappointed you couldn't get a Mark 50, this is probably going to be the Iron Man for you. And the reason why that is because this kind of gives you the bang for your buck for everything. So, what's crazy about this is that they took something they already engineered it even further, and added more parts in places you didn't think they could add more parts in places. And that's kind of the thing that's screwing me right now, because I'm just like, I did not expect this at all. So, yeah, there's going to be a lot to cover, and also not a lot to cover, but it's going to be weird. But I'm going to try. I'm going to try to make it work. But anyway, let's jump to the fact that this thing looks absolutely stunning. Can't front. I've always enjoyed the Mark 50. It's really nice. But what's crazy about that is, honestly, this is basically the movie version of the Bleeding Edge, and it's really dope. It's cool to see it in live action. It's cool to see it really come to life, and this is really cool, which is why I think the 85 will also be equally as dope. Hopefully, I'll be able to get one, because I'm actually borrowing this from a friend, Mezco Mike. I was actually not able to acquire one of these. So, yeah. Now, as far as articulation goes, I'm going to cover it as it comes in the Nano set and a little bit more with the freedom of it without those parts. So, yeah, let's cover that. So the head can look up. Actually, let me fix my light source. There we go. Head can look up for flight poses with ease. Not even a problem at all. And you have the backpack, which these port arms can actually move. They're on a single ball joint, and they can actually rotate around. So if you want to even turn them all around like this as thrusters, you can. And don't mind that part falling off. I'm going to cover that in a second. So as you can see here, really can cover it like a flight pose. And it looks really good. Now, as far as the backwards articulation with this on it, it still extends back pretty far to the point where it could touch the back of his leg even. So let's rotate these back up. And even if you rotate them out, you get a little bit more extra wiggle room to the point where he can go all the way backwards. Now, as far as the forward ab crunch goes, you can actually go forward really far as well. Tony can actually extend really far. You can also tilt left and right. But you are going to have some issues with that because there are a lot of small parts, nanotech wise, on this that kind of just fall off when you are trying to do certain poses, and you have to be a little careful. As you can see, I've rotated a little bit more. I was a little more careful this time, and it did not fall off. But the more gentle you are, the more easy it will be to do things. You can actually extend the upper torso as well to gain a little bit of height. So this is pretty cool. Now I'm going to push that back down slowly. And we're going to talk about all these small parts, considering that on the arm. As you will see, I can take these off. Now, I'm actually going to take off the backpack as well. So what's crazy about this, and the reason why I'm going to take them off, so that way I can cover more things without it falling off. The leg articulation still uses the drop down method. There is thigh swivel. The legs are double jointed still, and they can still extend all the way up, but you want to be careful not to actually ruin this paint apps. As you can see, the knee is double jointed. There is still generous ankle pivot. It's really tight in there because of the die cast, and there's toe pivot as well. So I'm going to rotate this back down and push that back up gently. As you can see, it could wiggle out as well. There is a lot going on with this piece that, to me, already gives you the bang for your buck. As you can see, these extra parts going outward. Now, what's crazy is, arm-wise, I'm going to put this Nano Set 2 piece back on, right? And even with this arm articulation here like this, the arm can still fold down to a flush position a little bit better than the first than the first Mark 50 in general. Now I'm going to rotate it out. I can pull it out a little bit, and that gives me extra range for rotating his arm all the way around with no issue, even with the Nano Set piece on. Now, when you want to rotate that bicep swivel, though, you're going to have somewhat of an issue, because as you can see, it just easily popped that piece off. Now, that's because this piece here is going to get in the way. That's why I took it off. You can rotate the bicep swivel, and the arm is double jointed, but they made it so that you can easily pop off the arm for nano parts. So you got to be careful with that. As you can see here, still can form muscles. And let's say if you had the normal pads on, wouldn't be an issue. Now, we're going to get into all this part swapping right now because it is a lot going on. Now, I'm going to strip him bare of all his nanotech parts. And I'm going to strip one of the leg nanotech parts off. Because what you see here is actually another nanotech piece that adds on for like micro missiles. It is very tiny and very minuscule almost to the point where you don't notice it. But you can actually do this by swapping out the leg, because they give you an entirely new, brand new leg part there. That's something they've not done before. I tried to do it on my previous Iron Man. It was just not happening. So real quick though, I'm going to bring out the Nano Set 1. And I'm going to bring out the normal Mark 50. And as you can see here, leg-wise, this is not removable. The line is there, but it is glued shut. So as you can see, it's a little rough to kind of comprehend just how crazy this is, because it's not in the Nano Set 1 either, right? So I'm going to leave these guys out, and it's going to be for a very good reason. It's crazy. Now that he's stripped completely, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add on the old school leg that pops in very easily. And there is also a part for the chest area, which I'm going to try to line up perfectly fine, which I may not do because it's actually quite difficult to know where it goes. Oop, got the wrong one. So let's try to line this up. Oop, this is actually more difficult than I thought it was going to be. And I've lined it up wrong again, because there's supposed to be a lettering inside, but there's not. So lining this up has been proven more difficult than I'd like to admit. There we go. And then we're going to add a shoulder plate for the arm, right? So one side you'll see that he is normal, and the other side will be Nanotech parts. So as you can see, he can rotate his arm normally with the normal parts on. Now, I'm going to leave that knee out. As you can see here, Iron Man looks normal on this side, and on the other side, it would be Nanotech parts or his flesh shown. You can actually strip him bare in various different ways, and they also give you his back parts. So let me actually find that. It is all over the place. There is a whole plate for his back part that kind of just goes on right here. I'm not going to press it in too hard. And there's another piece for the back piece to slide in as well. So as you can see here, you would have that to cover it up. So as I remove it, is pieces for the Nanotech Weapon Set 2. This is the back part for the replacement thruster. Fits right on the back shoulder. And as you can see here, it kind of just flies in very easily. Flies over the Nanotech set. It would be over the normal shoulder pads, because if you tried the Nanotech ones, it wouldn't really work out in your favor. So this booster right here, actually here, let me show you with the plate on so it actually looks a little bit more pretty, a little bit more streamlined. And this is actually a lot of work if you don't know what you're doing or you never had an Iron Man. This would be a little overwhelming, but I'm trying to take my time and show you, because there is a lot of work here. It looks really good though. I mean, this is one of those things where you kind of feel like you should have gotten this the first time and not the third time. So as you can see, laid bare. Now, the really cool thing is, for instance, I'm going to take this arm off. I'm going to take this blade, right? I'm going to take the blade from, actually, I'm going to take the blade and the Nanoset leg. I'm going to pop them off. I'm going to take all this work and pop it off, because it's actually going to take me a little while as I do it off camera. I have one leg here. And then I'm going to pop off an arm. And now I'm dropping tiny parts. But I'm basically butchering this guy on one leg, so you guys can see that you can still take the Nanoset Weapon 1 and the leg from Nanoset Tech 1 and still put it on this guy. So you can literally mix and match all sorts of parts with this guy. And that's what's going to be the crazy part about this, right? It is not one of those things where you expected it, but now you can mix and match all your Nano sets, whether it's the Mark 50 or the Mark 50 Nano Set 1 or the Mark 50 Nano Set 2. And he just has the bang for all of it. He has the parts for all of them together, and he can just combine any which combination of them, which is pretty much driving me crazy. And now I feel like I need this piece absolutely for all the combinations. Now, the bleeding edge for the Revolve Tech kind of gives you a little bit of glimpse of that as well, but it's just one of those things where this kind of gives you the die cast, the love for the die cast. So it's really about your preference here and what you want to buy. So this is one is a long one. And then you get these nano cannons, which are really, really cool. They don't light up, unfortunately, but they do line up very easily with the nano parts. You can double barrel them because you get 2 of them as well. And I know this is very unorthodox for me to review it like this, but it's just one of those things where there's so many parts, I just don't know where to begin, and I'm super excited. So as you can see here, it looks really good. Now, wiggling them out, that's a whole different issue. It's proven to be quite difficult to do on camera and a lot easier for me to do off camera. Now, one last thing I do want to talk about, though, before I just go back to my orthodox ways, is that with these, it's really rough to kind of get this because of the way it was distributed. So it's a little disappointing that a lot of people aren't going to get this right away. But luckily enough, this one was getting a US release, and it is totally worth coming out now. Like, if you didn't pre-order this, you didn't get your hands on it, I totally recommend that you do. I highly recommend that you do. This was actually a really nice piece, and it's probably my favorite SHF Iron Man to date. I gotta say, this is probably my favorite one. And getting off these tiny pieces has been somewhat of a struggle, but the more I'll play with it, the more I'll get used to it for photos. But I'm gonna leave him half nanotech, half non-nanotech set, so everyone can see the slight differences, right? Kind of mix and match them all over the place, right? So everyone can see. And I'm gonna move this guy out of the background so I can start jumping into the size comparisons, and we'll get into that as I drop stuff. One last thing I do want to talk about is the hands that he comes with on his nanotech set and the amount of staple pieces. So the kind of things that we missed out on that we didn't get nano set 1, we're getting hands and normal arms. We have flight normal hands. We have action open palms. And we have the staple repulsor hands. Repulsor blast. So, and then we also have the repulsor effects. These ones can go on the hands. These are for the larger attack thrust. And then we have the smaller repulsor hands for flight. I like the blue nanotech ones. I really do enjoy those. Then we have the blue thrusters for the feet. And I think I covered about everything. As you can see, he's also a bit of a darker color compared to this previous Mark 50, but I don't think you would notice it unless you actually put those guys together next to each other. And I have a small paint smudge on mine. That's a little disappointing. Let's pop this backpack back on. And let's show this guy some love with comparisons and sizes as I find these ports here to match up so I don't look crazy. Actually, I'm not even finding those to be very easy. Oh, that's because I got it upside down. I'm a crazy person. Wow. So half nanoteched up, right? I'm going to leave these tentacle arms out. Hopefully I can do some shots with them later. Hopefully. Make them look cool. Some micro missiles maybe. So now we're going to jump into the size comparisons. Try to see what's going on height-wise with this Iron Man as opposed to everyone else. Let's make up the big 3. So let's do Thor and Captain America first. Hopefully we'll get who I like to call War Thor, because he was ready for war, even though, you know, he may have lost his way a little. Here he is next to Endgame Cap. And these 3 guys actually look really good together. They all look close to the same height, so I don't really mind that, but they all look really good together. So that's the most definitive thing for those of you who want your big 3. This will work out pretty well. Right? Then we're going to go over what looks like next to some other guys in the MCU. So here he is next to Ant-Man, the Endgame version. Carol, who saved them out in space. Then we're going to compare to Black Panther, who met in previous adventures during Civil War. Falcon. Oh, Mac is actually pretty tall. Him and Black Panther. Next up, we have Ronan from Endgame. He looks pretty tiny next to Iron Man. Then we have Natasha, the Black Widow. Oop, let's fix that. Oh, why are you falling, girl? There we go. Height-wise, they all look a little too small next to him, but I don't mind it. Actually, Natasha works. It's Ronan that's a little too small. I think it's just his head. His body I wouldn't mind so much. It's just the head. Here is Thanos. Then we're going to do Hulk. Hopefully you don't fall this time, big brother. Last but not least, we're going to compare it to other lines, so we can show you size-wise next to other lines. So here he is against his Revoltech counterpart, the Bleeding Edge. So Bleeding Edge on Bleeding Edge. And as you can see here, the Bleeding Edge for Revoltech has a nice more shine. It's a little bit taller, but it's really about your preferences, right? Here he is next to a Lightning Collection White Ranger. Right? Voila. Storm Collectible Scorpion. Ooh. Oh, good for you. 1000 Toy Synthetic Human. Mezco Steve Rogers. Come on, guy. Get it together. Storm and Mezco stuff look really good with each other. That's just a side note. Here he is next to an AI Ninja. Here he is next to a Marvel Legends Spider-Man, who just is flaunting lately. And last but not least, an SH Figuarts Camerata Cougar. So yeah, Iron Man kind of blends in with everything. He could be tall, he could be short, especially mixing up the Nanotech weapon sets now, who kind of just give you a whole lot more range than you ever would have thought of, especially now. So that's going to be a little crazy to work with and mess with. All in all, though, this is probably my favorite Iron Man to play with for SHF. Gotta say that. But if I didn't collect all three, this would still be a hefty and great purchase, especially considering it makes up for what the Nano Set 1 kind of fumbled on. But it's going to be more difficult to get, so that proves to be one of those double-edged swords. In the meantime, guys, hope you enjoyed. I hope you found it informative. But most of all, hope you do good, be good, drink your water, guys. Later. So one thing I forgot to do was compare him to War Machine, who I could not do because he actually fell in the middle of the review and could not retrieve it. But here you go. Let's add that in at the end. Enjoy, guys.